What's going on, guys? Welcome to the Movie Dive. We're doing a tier list ranking. First time I have done a tier list ranking. Sounded like fun. Since this channel is only 6 months old, I haven't really done much of the MCU, but I'm going to do a tier ranking. We're going to go in the order in the beginning with Iron Man all the way to the Marvels. This is how the tier rankings are going to go. We've got amazing, great, good, average, bad, trash, as in ass, and I have not seen it. I've probably seen about 95% of these projects. We're going to start off with Iron Man, the first Iron Man coming out in 2008. I remember when this first came out, no one was expecting that much. Turned out to be a very quality film. I'm going to go ahead and put Iron Man in the great ranking. It was really good to see Robert Downey Jr. We never expected him to play this part as perfect as he did. The kickoff to the MCU, and they did it in a great way. If this movie's not good, I'm not sure if the MCU goes the way it's supposed to go. And up next, we had the Incredible Hulk. This is with Edward Norton. I was a little bit confused when this came out because they had Eric Bana in the Hulk a few years prior, which has nothing to do with the MCU. That movie was kind of trash. This one, I'm going ahead and put it in the average category. I can go ahead and watch it, have a good time with it, but it's nothing special. Edward Norton, unfortunately, didn't stay in the MCU because he's Edward Norton and he is not about that life. Coming up next, we go back to the Iron Man world with Iron Man 2. This one is going to go ahead and be put also in the average category. A lot of people hate on Iron Man 2. I don't dislike it as much as others do. The villain was a little lackluster. If you rewatch the trailer, I feel like they were trying to go a little darker, like as The Dark Knight was kind of popular back then. So they wanted a sequel with a standout villain. And Mickey Rourke, don't know if he really did it, but we did get Sam Rockwell in this one, and Sam Rockwell is just an all-star in everything he is in. And then after that, we got introduced to Thor. I didn't know anything about Thor back then. It was kind of like, oh, superhero in space. I'm not sure if I'm gonna be really into this, all the whole god stuff like that. But it turned out to be a pretty decent movie, putting this one in the good category. And then coming up next, we got Captain America, the First Avenger. This one I actually am going to put in the average category. I was never too fond of this one. I thought the Chris Evans CGI on the small body was always weird to me. Took me out of the movie. I thought Red Skull was not as cool as everyone was making him out to be. But in the end, I still think it's an average movie. I don't have a lot of fun rewatching this one. I guess it was cool seeing Chris Evans for the first time as Captain America. You're like, I see potential here, and we'll see where this goes. But then we finally got Avengers, the first Avengers film. This one goes into the great category along with Iron Man up there. I don't say it's amazing. Some people do have this as their favorite Marvel movie of all time. I think it is really good. I was very surprised back then that they were able to get this cast of characters together in one movie, have them share screen time. Their banter together was incredible. They had really good chemistry. They all stayed in character as well. Sometimes when they put them all together in a movie like this, the writer is not the same writer as their original films, so it seems to change up the stuff quite a bit. And at this point, you're like, oh, the MCU is here to stay because of such a hit that this was. The reason it's in great and not amazing, I still think that they were still figuring stuff out, hadn't found their perfect footing yet. There was still some corny spots. And then after that, we had Iron Man 3, this one as well, going into the average category. I think the first half of this movie was really good, especially when Iron Man was dealing with the PTSD after the events of the Avengers and what he had to do in New York City to save everyone. I thought that stuff was really intriguing. But of course, they had that twist with the Mandarin. It really pissed off a lot of people. I didn't know much about the Mandarin, so it didn't affect me as badly. However, I did see it as a pretty corny twist. And then the villain ended up just being kind of lackluster. Thor the Dark World, this one is also going into the average category. I don't think it's as bad as other people say it is. The villain is awful. Yes, I do agree with that. But just Thor and Loki together is just so good that I put it in the average category. I love watching them battle it out. And they had really good story arcs that would lead into the future of the MCU. And here we have Captain America, Winter Soldier, going into the amazing category. This could be my favorite MCU project. This is where Captain America really established herself as possibly the greatest superhero that the MCU had. Chris Evans is so good in this movie, and the Winter Soldier as well. It's the Russo brothers' first film in the MCU. Action felt really grounded. It was a spy thriller, and at this point is when Marvel started realizing that they could make films in different styles, not just the same cookie cutter Marvel film, but this one just branched out a little bit and they headed out of the ballpark. And then we headed out to Guardians of the Galaxy. This one goes into the great category. No one knew who Guardians of the Galaxy was unless you were really into the comics. They were deep into the lore. So at this point, I'm like, they're just pulling these characters out of their asses. But They did a superb job at it. Chris Pratt, what a good casting choice he was, especially coming off of Parks and Rec, along with Dave Bautista. You're like, oh, he's just a wannabe The Rock. No, he was amazing in this role. Rocket the Raccoon, what a cool character that was. These guys had such good chemistry together. The comedy was on point. A lot of that thanks to James Gunn, his writing and directing skills, and made you really excited to see these characters once again in a future MCU project. And after we had Guardians of the Galaxy, then we had the sequel to the Avengers, and that would be Avengers Age of Ultron, not going into the great category. This one to me goes into the good category. I think it is better than a lot of people say it is if you rewatch it, and it introduced us to Wanda Maximoff, and that's always a great thing, even though she had an atrocious accent in this film. Then we had to tone it down a little bit. This was with Ant-Man, the first Ant-Man. I'm putting this also in the good category. I found it really cool to see a different shift in tone. It was more of a small heist film. You didn't have these humongous stakes where if he doesn't do something, the whole world is going to explode. All the characters in this movie had great chemistry. Michael Pena was the standout of this film. And his monologue stories that he goes off with. Terrific comedic timing for Michael Pena. And that's why I put this one in the good category. It was a good change up of pace. Then we go to Captain America Civil War. This one is also going to the good category. Some people consider this their favorite Marvel movie. I really was into the aspect of Tony and Cap. They're saving people, but at the same time, that is causing all these villains to rise and is causing a lot of innocent people to die. I thought that idea and that story arc was very compelling. As much of Zemo being such a cool villain, I'm not sure if he was even needed in this movie. I wish they kind of would have pushed the story along just with Captain America and Iron Man. However, having the Winter Soldier in the middle of it was a cool aspect to the story. At no time did I feel the stakes super high. I know that they were battling each other, but in the back of my mind, I knew that they weren't going to inflict true damage to each other. I know they did, but it just did not hit it home for me as much as it did for other people. And up next, we have Doctor Strange. I am putting this one into the good category. What a cool little film we had going on here. Benedict Cumberbatch coming in as Doctor Strange. He was kind of like Tony Stark with his assholeness, just not as funny. I thought it was a cool story, especially really cool visuals with the Inception style buildings folding. And going into the third dimensional realm was something that Disney had not done yet. So I thought it was really cool to see. And then coming up next, we had Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. This is going into the average category. After the first Guardians of the Galaxy, it seemed like James Gunn really doubled down on the comedy. Unfortunately, he put the story to the side. This seemed like just a movie, just of them going from place to place, cracking jokes. And then we brought in Tom Holland's Spider-Man. When this was released, a lot of people weren't sure what to think of it because you already had Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield in two different franchises. But this one I'm going to go ahead and put in the good category. I thought it was a really fun movie, especially with the Vulture. He's one of the few villains at this point that was a big standout in the MCU. Then we're moving on here to Thor 3, or you could call Thor Ragnarok. This one goes into the great category. What a good movie. This movie is really funny. The first two were very serious, more Shakespearean. And this one, Taika Waititi comes in and kind of reforms all of Thor, but in a really good way. Unlike Love and Thunder, which we'll talk about soon, there's comedic moments, but then they do mix it with some serious moments, and that makes this one really great. Right before Infinity War, we had Black Panther, which is going into the good category. I thought the Killmonger aspect of this film was great. His story was very good. His backstory, why he became a villain. I love that. Michael B. Jordan was very good. However, what puts this movie down to the good category for me is I just was not a big fan, of the CGI. The final battle didn't really land for me. Then we had Infinity War. We already know this is going into the amazing category. We were talking about Thanos for several movies now, and the fact that he lived up or surpassed the hype, this is peak MCU right here, is Avengers Infinity War. And then once again, we toned it back a little bit with Ant-Man 2, which is Ant-Man and the Wasp. This one goes with the first Ant-Man in the good category. I actually like it just as much as the first Ant-Man. It's like 1A and 1B to me. I can watch these movies and it seems like kind of the same movie to me, but not in a bad way. They're both heist films. They both are really comedic. They're both great. Paul Rudd is just a national treasure. And this one leads off into the next Avengers film really good with a very good post-credit scene. And then up next, we had Captain Marvel. This one, to me, I put in the average category. Now, it's definitely not bad as some people say it is. I can definitely rewatch this movie, have a good time with it. It's set back in the 90s, too much member berries going on. You do see some plot holes with the story in the MCU in this one since there's so many movies deep. Good, fun, rewatchable. It's nice that it's in the 90s. so it's not going on the same time as all the other films. So then we go on to Avengers Endgame, the end of the Infinity Saga. This is going as well in the amazing category. Infinity War, Endgame, both incredible. They're different movies for sure. Endgame knows how to keep the stakes, and from beginning to end, I was so invested in this. It was probably the best movie theater experience I've had in my entire life. I did really good at staying away from the trailers, so every new scene was a surprise. Although their marketing was really good at hiding stuff from us, knowing that we're gonna see it anyway, even if they don't tell us what's going on. The last hour of the film was terrific. What a good finale. This same year, Game of Thrones season 8 came out, and it shows that it's very difficult to stick a landing, and Endgame did. And for that, it goes into the amazing category. Then we have the epilogue to Infinity Saga here with this Spider-Man Far From Home. And this one I'm putting into the good category. Some people don't like this. I think it's a really fun movie. Another coming of age story. I think Tom Holland is so good in this character. I enjoyed Jake Gyllenhaal in this movie. I thought Mysterio was a cool villain. He was a bit predictable at times, but it didn't matter. He was still so good playing that part. I can watch this movie, have a lot of fun with it. And then we got into the TV shows, kind of hitting the pandemic era here. And first we had WandaVision. This one goes also into the good category. It would be great or amazing if it continued what was going on with the first 4 episodes. There was such good mystery, and as you start to peel back the onion layers of this show, you start seeing kind of what's going on and what a cool story they got. However, the finale just, I don't know, they kind of dropped the ball on that. It became a cookie cutter, typical Marvel fight there at the end. And with how unique the first few episodes was, you wish they would have kept going down that path, but they had to make a happy bow tie ending. This was the first glimpse of what's going on with the writing here in the MCU. And then we went to our next show, which Falcon and the Winter Soldier. This one I put in the average category. Some good episodes. However, once again, they didn't stick the landing. I really liked the Wish Captain America, as you would say. I thought he was a great character, especially taking the serum when he shouldn't. But it goes into the average category. Definitely not a bad show. And then up next, we had the first season of Loki. This one goes into the good category. There were some really good episodes. I thought it was really intriguing. However, I'm not really sure about the writing. This is the Loki straight after the first Avengers. I don't think his character would change that fast just after seeing some videos of what happened to him. But it is still a really good show. Loki season 2 even made this season better. And then we're going to go on to the first movie Marvel had in the pandemic era, which is Black Widow. This, unfortunately, is the first bad film that Marvel puts out. I thought the first half of this movie was really good. It was very Jason Bourne-esque. Then the last half just became a mess. CGI fest. Elena was really good in the film, but just that second half of the movie it was a very big disappointment. Then we have What If. Well, that's just the most... What If is as average as you can possibly get in the MCU. It's like, okay, fun to watch, I guess. Shang-Chi up next. To me, it's also average. The first half, once again, I thought was really good. Really cool fight scenes, but I was just not a fan. CGI fest once again. Dragons coming out from everywhere, and it just did not look good to me. Some people really enjoy this film. I still view it as average. Definitely not a bad film by any means. And now the Eternals. We're gonna put the Eternals in bad category. It's not trash. Some people think it's trash. There's some redeemable qualities about it. Just the worst thing about this film is that it's boring. It's definitely boring. You don't feel chemistry with the characters. And this is the point where they start introducing new characters in the MCU where I'm like, these excuses of why you didn't show up where Thanos was there, I don't know if I believe that. You should have shown up. Also, after the Eternals, can someone please tell me why they have not mentioned a huge head and hands sticking out of the planet? After that, we go back to a TV show, Hawkeye. I'm putting this one in the average category. Not as bad as some people think it is. I think it's enjoyable. It's a good little Christmas show. It's an easy, fun rewatch. I don't really like what they did with Kingpin. It was cool they introduced him once again, but it seemed like he had some like freakish superpowers there where he just couldn't die, gets exploded, nothing happens to him, just wipes dirt off his jacket. Some unbelievable things here, but I think the actors were really cool in this. Kate Bishop is really good in this. It's an average show. I am interested in seeing what they do in the future with it. And then up next, we have Spider-Man No Way Home. What accumulation of film this is. That is going into the good category. What a great theater experience this was. I know leading up to it, there was rumors of who was going to appear, but they didn't actually tell you of Tobey Maguire, Andrew Garfield coming back, and it was really cool to actually see him the moment you did in the movie. As time goes by, you definitely see the plot holes with this movie. Why is Doctor Strange just letting a random teenager use this potion? But it's such a cool movie seeing these these old characters come back and they all bring their A game. It's not like they're half-assing it. And for that, it goes into the good category. TV show Moon Knight. This one, average. Some really good episodes, I thought, in Moon Knight. I thought there were some really great episodes, especially the second to last episode when he's dealing with trauma. What a cool way to explore that character of Oscar Isaac. However, the last episode, once again, was so bad. The last episode was so bad to me. And it's just so forgettable. And it seemed everything was so rushed and was such a good second to last episode. That was just such a letdown, and because of that, it goes into the average category. After Moon Knight, Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. This is unfortunately going to the bad category. Why is it going to the bad category? It's just a lot of just too much fan service in this movie, and a lot of it felt forced. Wanda would have been such a good villain. However, it just didn't feel earned. Now, her character in WandaVision started to turn bad, but then she turned good again. So then suddenly in this movie, she's automatically bad. The scenes felt too rushed. The CGI at times was really bad. End credit scene was ridiculous in this movie. Because of that, it's in the bad category. There's some cool parts in it. It's not how anyone wanted multiverse done. So when you saw this, you're like, what kind of direction are we going with the multiverse? And then we had the TV show Miss Marvel. It's actually the first thing I have not seen. I've heard good things, especially about Kamala's character. So unfortunately, it goes into the not seen category. Maybe someday I'll see it, but I'm gonna tell you right now, I highly doubt it. And then we have Thor: Love and Thunder. This is going into the trash. The first trash movie we get. Unfortunately, Taika Waititi, man, you're so much better than this. You did Thor Ragnarok, you did Jojo Rabbit before this movie. Why would you come out with this one? They leaned in so much to the comedy. It just felt like a parody. Felt like they just showed up on set and started improvising everything, didn't go off of a script, didn't know where they're going. And then the worst part of the movie is they absolutely wasted Christian Bale. The few scenes Christian Bale was in were cool, especially the beginning scene. And he felt like he was in a completely different movie than everyone else. He was trying to bring something serious to the MCU, and he is the God Butcher, and he butches only one God. All right, I Am Groot. Didn't see it. Never gonna see it. She-Hulk. I saw 4 episodes. No, was it 4 or 3? I don't know, but it's going in the trash category. I didn't even finish it because I thought it was so bad. Mainly because the CGI was so terrible. You could just tell while watching it that these people are half-assing this show. Comedy didn't hit at all for me. If it did for you, that's great, but I don't think I laughed one time. Then Werewolf at Night, by Night, whatever that's called. This goes to average. I thought it was cool. It's fun to put on at Halloween time. It's a quick watch. Wakanda Forever. Of course, this movie got hit with Bad Circumstance with Chadwick Boseman. This one goes into the average category. I thought it was good. It really sucked not having Black Panther in there. I'm not sure about Shuri being the Black Panther going forward. She just didn't seem like the one for me, but it was still good. I thought the villain was pretty cool. There's some pretty cool scenes. It was a little too long. Then Guardians of the Galaxy, the holiday special. I mean, it's cool. Goes into average. Not much to say about it. The Kevin Bacon bit's kind of funny. It's again another easy watch, kind of like Werewolf at Night. And then we had Ant-Man Quantumania. Goes straight to trash. This movie, huge letdown. Worst part about it is Kang. This guy is supposed to be the most menacing part of MCU's future, and he gets beat by ants. Only a few stuff left here. Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. This goes into the good. This was a very good send-off for the Guardians of the Galaxy. Not a perfect movie by any sense, but this is Rocket Raccoon's movie. Very good story. And you can tell that James Gunn wrote this years ago. It's not like he was going by the seat in his pants. Once again, let's say a great send-off for the Guardians of the Galaxy. Secret Invasion. Guess where that goes? Trash. Yeah, this show sucked. Definitely has people worried about the MCU. The amount of budget they put into this show. That last episode was awful. The ideas were awful. The last 5 minutes of the show is what the whole show should have been about. I just try to pretend in my mind that this show does not exist and enjoy the rest of the MCU. Then Loki season 2. This one goes into the great for me. I thought this was such a good season. This right here was MCU back to its right form. Very good writing. Loki goes into a full arc and they do it in such a great way. What a good finale episode for Loki season 2. Really enjoyed it. And like I said earlier, this made Loki season 1 even better. I feel like at some point I'll watch season 1 and 2 back to back and it will be a very enjoyable watch. This goes into the great category. I hope that Tom Hiddleston gets some award recognition for this. He was very, very good in this show. Finally, we have the Marvels. Trash. trash. This movie was bad. This movie was bad. This movie I just saw, I think about a week ago. Can't get past that singing scene. So yeah, here is my tier list for the MCU. What do we got going on in the future, guys? There's so many questions to be answered. It's not been in a good direction lately. I honestly thought the MCU was completely done until Loki season 2. So hopefully they go in towards a direction where they're giving the writers enough time to write stuff, giving the VFX artists enough time to create stuff that looks not like a PlayStation 2 did it. The next one I'm really looking forward to is Deadpool, so please don't mess that up. But anyway, guys, thank you for watching the movie dive. You let me know what you think in the comments below. If you disagree, I apologize about that. This is how I feel about the movies of the MCU. Please subscribe.